My son's basketball coach saved his life and was ostracized for it because his actions clashed with the school's preferred narrative. I gathered medical records and flipped the script, leading to the perpetrator's arrest at school and permanent disgrace. Coach Harris was a legend at our high school, 3 state titles, countless players earning full scholarships, but rumors shadowed him constantly. "He's too intense," a senior's parent cautioned me at orientation, hinting he pushed boundaries too far. I noticed fear in the player's eyes when he entered the gym. My son, Ethan, a talented sophomore, made varsity, and I thought it was a triumph. Yet other parents kept their distance from Coach Harris at games, whispering in tight circles about vague incidents no one would clarify. The athletic director dodged questions about concerns. Over 3 months, Coach Harris became the school's most isolated figure. Teachers avoided the lounge when he was there, assistant coaches quietly transferred, and parents arranged carpools to ensure kids were never alone with him. The exclusion was deliberate and harsh. Janitors worked around him silently, cafeteria workers served him without a word, and at school events he sat surrounded by empty seats. Still, contradictions surfaced. He bought gear for kids who couldn't afford it, stayed late to tutor math, drove players to SAT classes on weekends, and when a player's dad suffered a stroke, Coach organized fundraisers and covered their bills for months. Unlike others, he never shouted during games or threw tantrums. But the way players flinched at his whistle, the way conversations stopped when he appeared, something was deeply wrong. Ethan had been acting off for weeks, quiet, nervous, dropping weight fast. His ribs showed through his jersey at practice. That Friday night, everything unraveled. At an away game in a rough part of town, as our team bus parked, 5 men surrounded it. One brandished a knife, its blade glinting under the streetlights as he threatened the kids. Ethan stepped forward to shield a freshman, and before anyone could react, Coach Harris placed himself between the team and the attackers. The knife slashed his arm from elbow to wrist, blood dripping as he stood firm, calmly telling the kids to run. He didn't flinch, buying time until police sirens scattered the men. At the hospital, instead of gratitude, the rumors grew louder. The principal arrived, more worried about lawsuits than the 40 stitches in Coach's arm. "Why were they in that area?" he pressed, calling it reckless. Parents in the waiting room spun stories. "He must know those guys," one said. "Staged it to look heroic," another added. The school board held an urgent meeting that night, labeling Coach Harris's actions as dangerous negligence. No one asked why Ethan had bruises, why 5 players were dangerously thin, or why the team's grades were tanking. They fixated on blaming the man who'd saved their kids rather than questioning why they needed saving. The truth surfaced when Ethan collapsed at practice the following week, hospitalized for severe malnutrition and exhaustion. 4 more players were admitted soon after, all showing signs of extreme physical strain. The real story emerged. The team captain had been running brutal, secret 4M practices, forcing younger players into dangerous weight cuts, making them run until they vomited, and leaving the bruises I'd seen on Ethan. He'd threatened to ruin college prospects for anyone who spoke up, backed by 3 senior enforcers who'd been tormenting the team for months. The revelation shattered everything. The captain's father, the school's top donor, gave hundreds of thousands annually. His mother chaired the school board, shielding her son for years. Coach Harris had documented it all, 19 reports to administrators, recorded meetings where the principal ordered him to ignore team traditions or lose his job. When he escalated to the district, they threatened termination for defiance. When he went to the police, the school suspended him for fostering a hostile environment and neglecting supervision. The system protected itself. I found Coach Harris packing his office, hands shaking as he boxed up 20 years of memories. His walls held photos, not of trophies, but of players at graduations, weddings, holding their kids. Letters from students he'd lifted out of poverty through basketball covered his desk. "I let them down," he said, voice breaking. "Every bruise, every kid too scared to eat, every player I couldn't save, I failed." The weight of his words hit hard. He showed me files stuffed with ignored reports, recordings of administrators threatening his career, emails pleading for help that went unanswered. He'd been planning to expose the corrupt system shielding abusers, ready to release everything to the media. I told him he wouldn't fight alone anymore. Some of us were ready to stand with him. At 1 a.m., I sat in my car outside the school, reeling from what Coach had revealed. Through the dark windows, I saw his office light still on, photographing documents, knowing the school board president would clear his office by morning. My phone buzzed with a text from him. "They'll move fast. Be ready," I replied, promising support. He sent his address, warning that the enemy would strike once they knew he wasn't backing down. The fear in his message was new. 20 minutes later, at his home, I saw walls covered with decades of player photos, timelines, and practice schedules marked in red. He explained that the captain's mother had called him an hour earlier, politely threatening his teaching license if he didn't resign. My phone lit up. Ethan texted at 2 a.m., saying Mrs. Carter, the board president, was at our house, wanting to talk about Coach Harris. My stomach dropped. Coach saw my expression and handed me a flash drive, urging me to hide it well. "They'll search everything," he warned. Racing home, I stashed it in my tampon box at a gas station, the only place I thought safe from scrutiny. Mrs. Carter sat at my kitchen table, smiling sweetly, expressing concern for Ethan's recovery and warning that false accusations could harm his healing. Her eyes scanned my purse and pockets, hunting for evidence. She texted someone under the table while holding my gaze. After she left, Ethan broke down, showing me threatening texts from the captain about what happens to snitches' families, sent just before his mother arrived. Hours later, when Ethan finally slept, I grabbed my old laptop and went to the garage, not trusting the house computers. The flash drive revealed videos of 4 a.m. practices, Ethan vomiting blood as the captain laughed. The evidence was worse than I'd imagined. Coach texted that someone had tried accessing his apartment at 3 a.m. with a fake maintenance request, but he'd already moved his files. The next morning, my sister called, worried I was unraveling after Mrs. Carter spread rumors about my wild accusations. On Facebook, I saw old posts praising the captain for helping Ethan adjust to varsity, now tainted by the grooming pattern. At the grocery store, 3 parents cornered me in the cereal aisle, urging me to focus on Ethan's health, their words sounding scripted. My boss called, warning that my erratic behavior and obsession with a disgraced coach could cost my job. Even our family therapist canceled Ethan's appointment, citing concerns about my delusions. The system was closing ranks. In the hospital parking garage, I saw the captain's father arguing with a records clerk, demanding access to his son's teammates' files. She refused. Evidence was being targeted for destruction. That evening, hope emerged. 2 parents called, whispering that their sons were ready to talk, terrified of losing scholarships. Cracks formed in the silence. Reviewing practice schedules, I realized the 4 a.m. sessions aligned with my early work shifts. The captain had exploited family schedules. A former team manager, Lily, agreed to meet after confirming Ethan was a victim. At a McDonald's, she handed me a USB drive, revealing she'd documented abuse after the captain assaulted her for rejecting him. Another victim emerged. The captain's mother and son appeared at the McDonald's, trying to intimidate us, but customers' phone cameras forced them to leave fake smiles intact. Lily later texted that Stanford recruiters had received concerns about her character. Retaliation was swift. Ethan's best friend stopped responding after his parents banned contact, warning I was unstable like Coach Harris. The isolation tactics were textbook, straight from Coach's evidence. Isolate, discredit, pressure. I documented every interaction in a hidden notebook behind old photo albums. A hospitalized player's mom called at midnight, frantic. Her son had confessed everything, and medical records confirmed abuse patterns. Stress fractures, dehydration, malnutrition from extreme punishment. The school counselor, Mrs. Lin, pulled Ethan aside, saying she believed him and had tracked player injuries herself, an unexpected ally. I created encrypted cloud backups of all evidence, setting up dead man switch emails to journalists and authorities if I didn't check in every 48 hours. Paranoia felt justified. A police officer who coached youth sports warned me at a gas station that the captain's father was exploring harassment charges against me. 2 more players' moms joined our secret group chat, sharing stories of their son's decline. We built a coalition of scared parents. The captain's deleted Instagram posts, recovered from cached versions, showed him bragging about breaking fresh meat with photos of collapsed players. A former player from 2 years ago revealed his family faced job threats and immigration scrutiny when he reported similar abuse. The pattern was older than we thought. At Ethan's doctor visit, I presented abuse evidence to his pediatrician, who agreed to document it despite pressure to stay quiet. The captain's father launched a team legal defense fund at the country club, a transparent bid to fund their fight. A school board member's wife pulled me aside near the restrooms, confessing she'd seen her husband shredding documents and wanted to help. At the same event, 3 parents refused to shake Mrs. Carter's hand, her smile faltering. Her control was slipping. Her husband offered me a donation for Ethan's medical bills if I'd sign a statement supporting Coach Harris's firing. I refused, watching his face redden. That night, 5 more families joined our encrypted chat, sharing suppressed evidence. Hospital admissions matched the captain's punishment sessions within 48 hours, an undeniable pattern. Lily's videos included audio of the captain planning to break Ethan, with his parents' voices in the background, encouraging him. They were complicit. My sister apologized for doubting me after Mrs. Carter threatened her with legal consequences. Ethan started therapy in a nearby town, slowly opening up. Each session broke my heart but strengthened our bond. I stayed calm publicly, following Coach's advice to let them think they were winning while we built our case. The captain slipped at a gas station, mentioning Ethan's collapse time, knowledge only a close monitor would have. 3 nurses confirmed identical stress markers in all injured players, providing written statements. 2 school board members signaled they'd abstain from votes about Coach Harris, weakening Mrs. Carter's grip. Parents began pulling younger kids from basketball, citing scheduling conflicts, but admitting fear of abuse. Local businesses planned to cut team sponsorships unless leadership changed. At a board meeting, Mrs. Carter snapped, saying I was destroying her son's future. Her mask slipped. Teachers apologized for shunning Coach Harris, admitting they'd faced evaluation threats. The principal announced early retirement, pressured by district officials aware of the scandal. A freshman's prior complaint against the captain, buried by his parents' influence, surfaced. Our group demanded Mrs. Carter's resignation, presenting evidence of her cover-up. Local news caught wind after a reporter's child was threatened by the captain. A tech-savvy parent got a court order for school security footage, but key dates were overwritten, fueling cover-up suspicions. With the captain's Stanford deadline nearing, we acted fast. His public outburst at younger players during school pickup, stopped by parents and a teacher, showed his unraveling. 3 sponsors pulled funding after seeing our evidence. The captain's girlfriend, inspired by Lily, broke up with him publicly, showing screenshots of him treating abuse as entertainment. Employment records revealed the principal gave the captain master keys and security codes, enabling the torture sessions. Our group delivered a formal submission to the district superintendent, who launched an investigation. Community members voted no confidence in Mrs. Carter, and her allies abandoned her. The captain's social media rants exposed his desperation, with no real leverage. At Ethan's therapy, the captain appeared, terrifying recovering players until security intervened. His father's cease and desist letters failed against Coach Harris's lawyer's counternotice, backed by criminal evidence. Stanford revoked the captain's scholarship. A petition with 250 signatures demanded Coach Harris's reinstatement and an investigation into administrative failures. Players spoke at a board meeting, breaking the silence. A board member revealed their own investigation into Mrs. Carter's cover-up, already sent to state authorities. The captain was arrested during lunch at school, his parents' fury promising retaliation. At an emergency community meeting, Coach Harris presented his documentation, dismantling Mrs. Carter's denials. State investigators arrived, interviewing staff and students. I chose a plea deal ensuring the captain's registration as a sex offender, prioritizing future victims' safety. His parents were arrested for obstruction and child endangerment, their influence destroyed. Outside the police station, Ethan confronted the captain's father, no longer a victim but a protector. Mrs. Carter's allies abandoned her, her power gone. Coach Harris was reinstated with back pay and an apology but chose to start a nonprofit to protect young athletes. The school implemented mandatory reporting and oversight committees, dismantling the toxic culture. Ethan transferred schools, slowly returning to basketball, surrounded by survivor parents who shared our bond. 6 months later, a letter from another school's player thanked us for inspiring him to report abuse. Our impact spread. I joined Coach Harris's nonprofit board, turning pain into purpose. The captain served his sentence, registered as an offender. His parents relocated after losing lawsuits. Ethan mentored younger players on reporting abuse, transforming trauma into advocacy. Our community changed, parents watched closely, administrators faced scrutiny, and kids learned their voices mattered. Basketball became safe again. The cost was innocence lost, but the reward was purpose gained.